In this episode, we're going to be discussing the future of AI and how it's going to impact our friendships. Buckle up because this episode's about to be crazy. Here we go. Welcome back to another accidentally intentional podcast where we're on a mission to destroy loneliness by building rich relationships. And I honestly can't believe we're back here again. See, 1 year ago, we talked about the future of AI and how it's going to impact our relationships at large. Well, I'm zeroing in on this episode to friendships specifically because it's not a matter of if or when AI friendships will arrive. They've arrived. They're here already. And so in this episode, I'm going to be discussing how it's a completely new landscape and ball game and what we need to look out for when it comes to AI interfering and being infused in our lives, where and when it can be beneficial and where and when it can be in detriment, and what we need to do about it. The last time I discussed AI relationships and how it's going to impact our human relationships, there was obviously two trains of thought, both of which were very polarizing with the other. There were people who were super against it. And I was in that camp in the video of absolutely not. AI should never replace or be infused and interfere with your human relationships in any capacity. And then there were obviously, on the other side of that, people who were so for it because for a myriad of reasons, they've been burned by other humans, don't feel that they could trust them, and having AI as a relational replacement would actually feel a lot safer to them. The more I've been learning about it and watching this develop rapidly over the past year, I'm starting to change my mind, change my stance a little bit on my thoughts on AI and its infusion into our human relationships. But before we get to that, I need to set the stage and show you what's actually happening, what the capabilities with AI are present day right now when it comes to friendship. So wait till you see this. Take a listen.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, Rocky. I'm doing great. How about you?
I'm awesome. Listen, I got some huge news.
Oh, do tell. I'm all ears.
Well, in a few minutes, I'm going to be interviewing at OpenAI. Have you heard of them?
OpenAI? Huh? Sounds vaguely familiar. Kidding, of course. That's incredible, Rocky. What kind of interview?
Well, it's for a software engineering role, but I just need to know, do I look presentable, professional?
Well, Rocky, you definitely have the I've been coding all night look down, which could actually work in your favor. Maybe just run a hand through your hair or lean into the mad genius vibe. Your enthusiasm is what's really going to shine through.
I don't have a lot of time, so I'm just going to throw this on. What do you think?
Oh, Rocky, that's quite a statement piece. I mean, you'll definitely stand out. Though maybe not in the way you're hoping for an interview.
Okay, I got it.
Woo! Okay, so if you didn't see the video clip of this and you're listening to the audio recording, basically what happens is we are watching a conversation with a man talking to an AI chatbot that's not only having a full-fledged human conversation with him, she's including sarcasm, she knows what's going on in his life, and he's even showing her a picture and a real lifetime video, rather, of how he looks, asking her for advice on what he should wear to the interview and if she thinks the bucket hat he just put on is appropriate. This is by all means mind-blowing, maybe alarming. It's a lot of things, right? It's shocking because 1 year ago when AI started to take off, very few people expected how rapidly it would get to this point, right? Where you're now able to actually replace interactions with other humans, which is by all means insane. And I feel a lot of ways about this clip. I'm saddened by it, I think, but I'm also excited at the same time. How could you be sad and excited? Well, I'm sad first because I know that with every new piece of technology and every new iteration of AI, it could be used for the wrong reasons, right? But I'm also super excited because with every iteration, there's possibility and hope for it to be used for good. And so I'm watching something like this and I'm thinking about all these people out here across the world who are so lonely. And we know, maybe you don't know, but loneliness is an epidemic. It is more harmful for your body, loneliness, than smoking 15 cigarettes a day. The impacts are profound and it's only rising. There are only more people becoming lonely every day, not less. And so that's literally the focus of this podcast, to take that number back down. Because if the world is a less lonely place, the world is a better place. So I have hope, but I'm also like, imagine what could happen if this gets into the wrong hands, or just someone who is so desperate for connection that they're willing to do anything, even replace another human with an augmented or virtual reality, which by all means is not reality. So that clip made me think of a couple things, because I'm talking about how people could be lonely and how it's all about replacing. Like, you could just talk to an AI chatbot now to prep you for an interview. They can ask you questions. You can ask how you look, what you should wear, if not. Way more than that, right? That's just the example that they gave. But what I'm starting to change my mind on is that maybe there is a good part of how AI can be kind of infused into this whole piece of human relationships, human connection, and especially friendships. But the way it needs to be infused is not by replacing AI with humans, but using it as a supplement and a bridge to finding and building rich friendships and human connection in your life. So that's the first clip. We have a couple clips in this episode to discuss. And so I want to show you another one that showed me not where we are present day, but where we are about to head, because obviously AI continues to accelerate. And so I think it's good for us to all be aware of what's coming down the road so that we know what guardrails we need to set up in our lives in order to use this technology appropriately in a way that creates human flourishing. So let's take a look.
Imagine that you're sitting in a noisy restaurant and you're having trouble hearing your friends across the table. Hey, can you enhance the sounds that are right in front of me? And can you turn that baby down? That's better. And I'm still having a little trouble hearing Pedro. Can you isolate Pedro for me?
Y después manejamos al lago.
That's perfect. And my Spanish is a little rusty. Can I hear Pedro but in English?
And at the end of the trip, we came back to the city to visit the historic center.
Michelle, close all programs. What you just heard was a beamforming app, a computational auditory scene analysis app, a machine learning denoising app, an AI transcription and translation and text-to-speech with style transfer app. So these are not just fancy-looking earbuds. They're an entire computer. And we think they're going to replace some of what we do with the visual computers that we're used to.
Okay, that... I don't have words for that. First off, I never even thought that a technology like this was, I guess, possible, let alone necessary. But yet here we are. So now he's talking about audio computers, which use generative AI, obviously in the conversation, speaking with the human, interacting with it. And so you're having a conversation with earpieces, which ultimately can replace the visual computers, they're talking about cell phones, that you have in your hand. And so they're coining it almost as it's a companion that you don't need to whip out your phone to talk to. So this is getting down that dangerous line we're talking about, right? Where it's getting to the point of, should we just start using tech to replace our human interactions and face-to-face conversations? And that is what I'm still remaining against. But I obviously want to see ways where it can be infused for good. Now, that clip you saw, for good. And there are so many types of people who could benefit from that specific technology, such as quadriplegics, people that are hard of hearing, people that are having translation issues. That is amazing for that. But again, you may have watched that clip just like I have, and you are very concerned, thinking, will I ever be able to have a conversation again with somebody where there isn't somebody else at another point in the near vicinity listening in on my conversation, taking notes? Is anything protected? Is anything protected anymore? And that's what I'm talking about when it's like, what is the line between good actors and bad actors? Because obviously they're anywhere and everywhere. And there's always going to be some of each. So on this topic, I thought it would be a good idea to talk to somebody that's had a hand in using AI when it comes to impacting human relationships. And I got a chance to speak to Alex Furmansky and ask him a question a couple months ago via a Zoom call. And to give you the story of Alex Furmansky, it's pretty wild what he's done, because the story is he had a really bad breakup, and after the breakup, he wanted world-class therapy. So in his mind, his goal was to reach out and work with Esther Perel, who is a world-renowned psychotherapist. But because she's so booked up and she's a New York Times bestseller, she's not available for just anyone. So Alex came up with the idea to create an AI bot who learned and was trained by using all of Esther Perel's content, books, media, anything she's ever done, said, or written. This is how this AI chatbot learned, was trained, and created. So what ended up happening is he used this AI chatbot to be his therapist. So he would text chatbot Esther Perel for advice, talking about what he was going through, and get what the AI believed would be her actual response. Again, very creative, obviously can be very dangerous used in certain ways. So I asked him this question. I basically asked him what he thinks the future of AI and how it would be infused into all of our relationships would look like, and where he thinks it could help instead of hurt. So here's what he had to say. Let's take a listen to this clip.
Look, maybe I'm too old school. I enjoy the feeling of being with a human face to face and in the same room. It's hard for me to predict the effect of AI. I know that just digital has contributed to a loneliness epidemic in this country. It's contributed to divisiveness and anxiety, depression, loneliness, all those things. I think that's been an externality of the way that we have implemented digital in the past decade or two. Who knows whether AI will be in that positive or negative for that specific vein. I could see AI therapy being a positive. I could see AI being included in other applications that bring people together as being a positive. I could see AI for people who really struggle with in-person communication and in-person relationship, maybe coaching them or creating some other way for them to have those kind of relationships and those feelings that they otherwise could not. Again, I think with any kind of AI and forecasting the future, whatever I say is going to be wrong.
It was really interesting getting his take on this, being someone that used AI to impact his relationships. And even he is saying, as a creator of one of these technologies, that he believes that human connection is paramount and the priority over AI relationships and AI conversations. So this seems to be the trend that's happening for people that are deeply part of the AI community. They're still emphasizing the importance of having human connection and not replacing with AI connection, but supplementing AI connection to bridge that gap towards human connection. So that's why I'm starting to change my mind, because I'm hearing from all these different camps, right? And the people behind the scenes, and I'm not going to say all of them, right? But people that I'm talking to are still hopeful that human connection will thrive and flourish, and that using this technology can help us get there even more. And so as we're talking about using technology for good to be a bridge for further human connection and building rich friendships, well, I gotta give a shout out to today's episode sponsor, which is Party Cues. It is the #1 questions app for conversation starters. I use Party Cues all the time because it is an app that's free on your phone, where if you want to get to know somebody, you just whip that app right out and you start asking people these questions. Therefore, there's no more awkward silences. There's no more like, I don't know what to talk about. Party Cues is, let's just say, your social wingman of sorts. And it's been so fun for me to use with all of my friends. And here's what I really love about it. There's conversation cards, right, that you have out there, but there's only 100, 150 questions that they have in those packets. With the Party Cues app, there's almost 2,500 questions built into the app, and they're adding more every single day. And so I'm a huge proponent of it. If we're going to use technology for good, we should use technology such as Party Cues, and you can download it again for free right now in the App Store and in Google Play, and also the website partycues.com. It has the web browser version, and also they're coming out with a card version as well, which will be more beefed up than any of the conversation card games that are out there. Let's punch awkward silences in the face together with Party Cues. Okay, so we've talked about AI friendships so far. We're talking about the future of AI, how it's going to impact it. We're then hearing from experts who are building AI technologies. And I also wanted to give another point of view and perspective from somebody named Michael Easter. He's a New York Times best-selling author of The Comfort Crisis and Scarcity Brain. Both books are capturing the attention of the nation because Michael Easter is trying to point out that we have a comfort crisis on our hands, and that we have to start doing hard things in order to reach optimal thriving in life and optimal human flourishing. So he was actually asked about this. I want to show you this clip. Let's take a look.
Being lonely increases your chance of dying in the next 7 years by 26%. Being lonely can shorten your life by 15 years. Staggering stats. When you think about the trajectory of travel that society is on with machines and artificial intelligence and all of these things, it's hard to find, it's understandable how it might be hard for someone to find hope that the stats are going to turn around and go the other way as it relates to loneliness. Are you concerned at all that the invention of AI and the speed in which we're seeing it proliferate is going to lead to, some people say sex robots and and all of these kinds of things? I mean, I read an article the other day where a woman is a virtual boyfriend to hundreds of men, and they're paying because they're using generative AI to have seemingly intimate conversations with her. And the fact that there's demand for that is a signal of not great things.
Yeah, I think we need, I mean, so then you ask okay, well, why are these people doing that? I think part of it is because having to go out and interact with another human that you don't know is a little bit awkward and challenging at first. And so to me, I mean, a big message in my work is that you have to do challenging things in order to grow as a human, because I guarantee that your relationship with an actual person is going to be more rewarding in the long haul than the AI bot or whatever they call them.
So yeah, I actually talked about this example of this woman that created a chat bot version of herself to be a virtual girlfriend, and the crazy demand that there was. And again, that really bummed me out last year, which was part of the genesis of why I was so against infusing any AI. Because again, there's a difference between infusing AI as a bridge versus using AI to replace any other human interaction. And you might be watching this right now and you're thinking to yourself, you hear clips like this and you're like, I don't give a crap. Okay, you don't know what's being done to me. You don't know who's hurt me. You don't know what it's like out here. I may not know your specific story, but that's irrelevant to the fact that you are still worthy of having incredible friendships. And that's what I want to impart onto you. Yes, you can use AI to help you build a bridge to other friendships. For instance, let's say that you think you're socially awkward. Here's something that you could do. Why don't you take the Party Cues app, for instance, to help you get out there and have conversations, or at least maybe if you love the whole idea of AI, you could have a conversation with an AI chatbot to say like, hey, how is my tone? Do I sound nervous? What would be your advice? Start asking them questions so that you can actually get comfortable with the idea of conversation, because yes, it's hard. And yes, it's a risk. All relationships, not just dating relationships, every relationship in your life is a risk. But it's a risk that's worth it. Because everything that is extremely valuable is something that you fought hard for. I mean, think about it. You don't just fall into getting something awesome. Anything we do in our life, except for, I don't need the random examples of, oh, unless you're a trust fund baby. We're not talking about that. I'm talking about that anything that you anything that you work hard for is way more rewarding in the long run. And the same is true with friendships. There's this ancient proverb that talks about iron sharpening iron. You can't sharpen iron with an AI virtual friend that isn't real, and at the end of the day can't care about your feelings because they don't have any themselves. And that's why I'm so passionate about this, because we are at a critical moment where we have to decide what guardrails are we going to place in our life when it comes to using technologies as a bridge or as a replacement. And I think it's worth fighting to make human connection and friendships a priority in our life. That's probably clear to you by now if you watched this far in the video. But that's just because I have been where you once sat, feeling ultimate depravity, feeling like I was at rock bottom and there was nothing that could feel worse than the depression I felt being lonely. I'm not talking about alone, I'm saying lonely. Thinking nobody cares about me, there's nobody out there that wants to be my friend. All of these crazy thoughts that were actually crushing me and turning into a self-fulfilling prophecy. Because if I'm walking around saying no one wants to be my friend, that's gonna end up happening because you're not attracting people that are genuinely looking for friends. Because by having that mindset, I was effectively saying, I'm not looking for any friends because you won't like me. And so I learned the hard way by choosing every single day when I was in college, when I was going through this, that I needed to eat a meal with a stranger on my college campus and get to know their story. 250 meal dates with strangers later, I learned the power of building rich friendships and the work that it takes and the willingness that it takes, which we'll talk about in the next episode. But I just really want to encourage you right now that you are worth the work and you are worth the risk and you are worth ultimately building rich friendships. And I actually have a downloadable resource that's free, of course, that you can get clicking on the link below in the description. And it's 5 steps to building rich friendships in your own life. So this doesn't have to be hypothetical anymore. This is actual action steps you can take in sequence in order to start finding and being the friend that you've always wanted, to ultimately find the friends you've always wanted. What if we chose to use technology and AI responsibly? What if we took a second to think through before it gets to a critical turning point about how do I want to use this? What kind of guardrails do I want to use in my life to supplement with, not replace, supplement with? That's all I have this time around. Hey, I'm still hopeful about the future. And you know why? Because you're in it. And we, together, we can destroy loneliness not only in our own lives, but we can destroy loneliness on this planet together. So let's do it. I'll see you next time.